Hey everybody, welcome to Requiem's Guide to the First Boss of Veteran MOL. While the boss is spawning in, our group spreads out around the room. The boss starts the fight in the middle of the room. For reference, the entrance door to the room is marked. There are 6 platforms around the edges of the room. Each of these platforms has a blue rune on it and can be used to cleanse the curse placed on your group throughout the fight. In order to make explanation and communication easier, we label these platforms 1 through 6 in a counterclockwise pattern. Our 12-person group consists of 1 main tank, 1 off tank, 2 full-time healers, and 8 DPS. Since this is a very DPS heavy fight, we maintain 3 warhorns from both tanks and 1 of our DPS. Due to the nature of the fight, you do not want more than 4 or 5 melee DPS, as this can cause unnecessary damage and curses to go out, which I will explain later. We assign primary cleansing platforms for everyone in the group. Both of our tanks primarily cleanse on platform 4, and we have a healer cleansing on platform 1 and another on platform 6. The remaining slots are filled by DPS characters, with DPS solely on platforms 2, 3, and 5. When someone assigned to platform 3 gets the curse, they should use platform 3 prior to considering taking another platform. Under some circumstances, a DPS will choose to just stay and die near the boss rather than taking a cleansing pad from a healer or a tank, as that could cause a group wipe. As the fight starts, our group moves into position. The goal is to stay close enough together that heals can easily cover the entire group while staying far enough apart that the AoE damage and curses do not hit more than one person. Note that the outside sorks may not receive heals from both healers, but 1 set of springs is still enough. Notice that the main tank and the off tank are both in line with platform 4, and our 2 healers are in position between the boss and platforms 1 and 6. The first mechanic to pay attention to is the summoning of pillars from the boss. His mace will glow blue while he spins around and summons a pillar on the player furthest away from him. Part of why our group remains close together is to keep these pillars close to the group. If the boss casts the pillars on your character while you are on a cleansing platform, you can hold block and the pillar will appear halfway between you and the boss. This can be useful to prevent pillars spawning a long way from group members. If you are standing in the pillar's red circle when it appears, it will do decent damage to you and knock you back and down. There are blue balls flying around the arena randomly. If these contact your player, they set off an AoE that damages everyone near you. They do not do a lot of damage, but you don't want that damage to stack up. Remain spread out and stand still. For the most part, these can be ignored. Here is the curse and cleansing mechanic that requires the use of the 6 platforms. The boss raises his hand and applies the curse to 3 players. Around my character, in the DK to my right, you can see small red circles. Everyone within these circles will get the curse. This is the primary reason you want your group to be spread out. You can see that the melee Nightblade to my left and the sorcerer to my back left are far enough away to not receive the curse. Once the curse has been applied, your screen will start to turn blue, and a gradually increasing snare will start to slow your character. Since I am one of the DPS assigned to platform 5, I run over to that platform quickly, cleanse the curse, and move back to the boss. If you do not cleanse the curse in time, which is about 15 seconds, your character will die. While I was cleansing the curse, the boss entered his next phase. At 80%, he summons 2 untauntable cats. Our Dragon Knights chain these cats into the center and drop any available banners. We save other ultimates for the upcoming shield phase, however, since we dropped our ultimates at the beginning of the fight, we do not have any banners available for the 80% cat phase. Here is the second half of the pillar mechanic. After the boss has summoned 5 pillars, he will hold his mace above his head and send out a room-wide explosion. This explosion will kill you if you are not hiding behind one of the 5 pillars. If your group is too spread out, it is likely that these pillars will be too far away and some of your group members may not get there in time. Keep in mind that once you are behind the pillars, you can still DPS the boss through the pillars as they do not break line of sight. This explosion is also tied directly into the boss's enrage mechanic. He does this explosion after 5 pillars the first 2 times, then after 4 pillars twice, 3 pillars twice, and so on. In total, this means that there are 2 sets of 5, 2 sets of 4, 2 sets of 3, 2 sets of 2, and 2 sets of 1 pillars. After that, there are no more pillars and your group will wipe. At 70% and 30%, the boss enters into a shield phase. During this phase, the boss puts a small AoE on every group member and the phase will continue until you DPS his shield down. The 30% phase is significantly harder than the first with over twice the shield hit points. Notice here that I have the curse, but my partner just grabbed platform 5. I could take platform 4 or 6, but if I leave the heals during this phase, I will die. Instead, I stay and get as much damage in on the boss as I could to help burn the boss through the shield phase. At this point, all non-DK ultimates should be dropped. Here you can see how our group remains close enough together to receive heals, while being far enough apart to not overlap the red circles onto another player. The red circles can touch and overlap, as the circle around me is doing with the DK to my right, but you do not want another player within your red circle. During this phase, both of our tanks spam Combat Prayer and Blessing of Protection to help fill gaps in healing. Notice one of our healers has died to the curse, but since our group is close enough together and the assistance from the tanks, it doesn't cause a problem. Another thing to keep in mind here is that no one in our group is moving. Even a slight shift can cause the AoE to hit 2 people at once, and that will likely kill both players. The longer the shield phase goes on for, the faster the damage comes out. Here I died to the curse I received before the shield phase. Immediately my platform partner begins rezzing me, and you can see I shift my camera over to our downed healer. Staying on top of rezzes here is very important, as down DPS is no DPS, and this fight is a large DPS test for your team. At 60%, the boss enters another cat phase. This time he summons 3 cats instead of the previous 2 at 80%. We treat these cats the same way, DK DPS chain them in, drop banners on them, and AoE them down. Having a Magicka DK spam talons helps keeps the cats in AoE range if they aggro on a ranged DPS. The boss will enter another cat phase at 40% with 4 cats, and one at 20% with 5 cats. Since the pillar line of sight mechanic continues to run in the background, we have a healer keep track of this for the group. When the boss is summoning the last pillar for that phase, the healer calls out last pillar, and the group knows to prepare to line of sight. This could also be done by a ranged DPS, but would be quite challenging for a melee DPS to do this as they lose sight to half the room. When I received this curse, I noticed that the off tank just used platform 5. I can also see that platform 4 is not available and that the main tank does not have the curse at the moment. In order to cleanse, I stand on platform 4 and wait for the cleanse. These platforms respawn in about 20 seconds, so I knew it would be up before the curse killed me, while platform 5 would not have respawned in time. Since the fight is a DPS race, it is important that the tanks try to keep the boss as still as possible. Skills like Scorched Earth, Wall of Elements, Trap Beast, Liquid Lightning are all ground targeted, and moving the boss out of these is a substantial DPS loss. Once the boss is in position, try to keep him as still as possible and return him to his position quickly when he moves. The 40% add phase again contains 4 cats. It is important here to only use Dragon Knight banners to burn the cats down, as you want as many ultimates as possible for the upcoming shield phase at about 30%. We do, however, drop one of our healers' ultimates to reduce the amount of outgoing damage that the cats do. While the boss is out of position, our tank knows that he is about to enter the 30% shield phase. Due to the massive DPS required for this phase, he keeps the boss still and calls for our DPS to position around it. This saved us a bit of time and allowed our group to be in place for the shield phase to begin. At this point, drop everything available to your group except for DK banners, as you want to save those for the 20% cat phase. As soon as the shield phase is done, the tank repositions the boss to the center of the room and we try to get all of our reses out ASAP. I was unable to cleanse the curse at this point since platforms 4 to 6 were taken. Instead, I chose to stay near the boss and just keep doing as much damage as possible. I do not bother cleansing the line of sight for the pillow phase, since I know I'll die anyway. This 20% ad phase is perhaps the hardest part of the fight, as the cats hit extremely hard and there are likely not many pillars left between explosion phases. Quickly chain the 5 cats in and drop every ultimate available. From this point on, use ultimates as soon as they are ready.
You, but I really don't want to. Believe me, I could love without you, but I really don't need to. 'Cause leaving is the hardest thing to do. But being left is hard, oh yes it's true. But you're coming back. How do I get back to you?
While the boss gets low on health, it's important to stay on top of the mechanics and not get cocky, or you risk dying like an idiot when the boss only has 20k health left. I hope this guide has helped you out. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments you have below, and feel free to check out our website.